Hey, everybody. How are you today? Bo Prosser, Center for Christian Education, Bo in the Beard, C4CE.org. Thanks for joining me. This is year round generosity and stewardship quarter four. We are finishing up a year's worth of activities and ideas for you as you think about how to build generosity and grow the stewardship within your church. As always, my sidekick for the time together, Ruben Swint, the generosity guy. Ruben, how you doing today?
Bo, I'm doing great. How are you doing up
I'm
there?
doing good. Are you feeling generous today?
Well, bless you then.
Listen, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We are diving straight into what I consider the height of the fundraising season for churches. We'll have more to say about that in a minute, but I wanted to make sure I get all those holiday wishes to you, my friend,
Well, I
because I may not
appreciate
see you
it.
part of those times.
And if my wife were here, you would be saying, "Go dogs."
Yeah, absolutely. It's football season in the South. Nothing better. Well, let's dig into this and see what we come up with. First of all, we are looking at October of 2025, what I have titled Ministries and Missions, and looking at what we are about during October. So, the first thing we think about is telling the stories. What do you mean by this?
Well, the word narrative is a big word in today's society. People talking about controlling the narrative. And of course, when folks are not in the pew or perhaps at home streaming the worship service into their house, they are being bombarded by everybody else's narrative out there in society. And we're entering that season where the consumer culture narrative is if you want to be somebody, if you want to matter, you're going to buy this. And that's just so counter to what Jesus came and taught us. And so, number one, be aware that there's a whole lot of storytelling going on,
Right.
and it may not all be accurate.
Yep.
Number two, be sure your church is telling its story. You've got your own narrative, and you've got a variety of ways and opportunities to share it. Share it first and foremost with your members and your attenders and the people who show up either online or on site. And keep that narrative strong because it's going to be buffeted a bit in this last quarter of our consumer culture.
Yes. Lots of competition for dollars. Uh,
Yes.
and that's always happening, but specifically it's happening in this last quarter for sure. So having a missions fair, a ministries fair, or a ministry or missions fellowship where everyone who's involved comes into fellowship hall and has an opportunity to present their story, to let the church people know the many places that you're involved. I once worked at a church. We were involved in over 50 ministries,
Whoa.
and half the people in our church didn't realize more than half of those. You would tell me we're doing too many, and probably we were, but that church had a lot of segments to it, and they had a lot of things they were doing, and all of them were good. And we had the money to support them, so we did those. So having that large group gathering where we get to show and tell is an important part of this. Personal stories and intergenerational activities. How do we do intergenerational activities?
Well, we used to just invite the whole family to show up, and we used to live as families much closer to one another than we do nowadays. So sometimes we have adoptive grandparents or adoptive grandchildren, and we just make sure every generation knows its role and place in the church and is appreciated for that. One of the real struggles for a lot of churches is for They're baby boomer parents who graduate their children and then they're empty nested at home. And they used to be at that church faithfully because they were making sure their children were involved in discipleship and in missions and getting that strong foundation. But then the children are no longer home. They're out building their own lives. So where's the motivation to stay connected? So I think some attention to empty nesters is important so we
Uh,
don't lose them.
yes,
They have a wealth of experience through work and through social engagement, and they can be good, what I call executive leaders for the future.
good.
People who are well experienced in getting stuff done,
Yes,
and maybe short-term assignments is the way to do that.
yep, yep. So you also mentioned a spiritual gifts inventory. Uh, what in the world does spiritual giving have to do, spiritual gifts, what does that have to do with ministries and mission and stewardship and generosity?
There's several dimensions, I think. We're stewards not only of money, but also time, our abilities or assets, whether we have them naturally or they were acquired through work. And then there's an overlooked asset that we don't really consider often, but that's influence. How we use our influence for good in the world and being ready to say a good word for people who need a good word to hear. Um, I think one of the ways that churches grow their giving, they grow their serving, and they grow their mission outreach, and they grow their inviting of others to come join them. One of the ways to do that is by engaging, making sure their members are engaged in some phase of church life.
Right.
Engagement leads to greater levels of giving, serving, and inviting.
Yes.
So knowing how you make a difference naturally or through your own experiences can be an on-ramp to engagement. So I think spiritual gifts inventory is a great tool.
Okay.
You could also pair that up with a Enneagram, which a lot of times is used for spiritual direction,
Yep.
but it's also helpful in terms of how do I fit into the human race and what do I have contribute.
Oh,
I will
awesome.
tell you, as an older adult, every year I search more and more for the meaning in what I do.
Yes.
And I'm no different than the person next to me on the pew or at home in front of the laptop screen.
Good.
We want to find meaning and purpose. And this is a start on that journey.
Absolutely. Yep. I have several inventory resources. If you're looking for that, shoot me
Good.
an email. I know Ruben has some too. Well, I'll have contact information for both of us at the end of our time together. You also talk about updating last January's goals. We may have forgotten where we even started in January 2025. That's almost a year past. So, what do we do with that? How do you suggest
We
we
here
do
in
that?
January?
I'm sorry?
Were we here in January?
We were here in January.
Wow.
We
And here
were.
we
We
are in
even started
October?
this video series in January.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can forget that. I mean, for sure. But
I
some of the
forgot where I
goals,
was yesterday.
well, here's the deal. Some of those goals that sounded so good and looked so delicious in January may have not turned out that way. You may have soured on them. So, one real good reason right now, this final quarter, to look at those goals again is say, well, you may remember, I think in June or July, we kind of did a mid-year review of
Yes.
goals.
Yes.
But let's look at them one more time before we finish up in case we've overlooked something. It
Absolutely.
is okay to say, that sounded like a good goal, but it didn't work.
Okay.
So let's just don't worry about that goal list. That's okay. Bo and I give you permission to realize there's some things that we creatively think of that just are not the cat's meow at this particular time. There
Exactly.
are other things that were spot on.
Yep.
and they have worked out extremely well for you. And then finally, there are those things somewhere in the middle, need a little more time, need a little more attention. And maybe when you enter into the budgeting process, you need to throw more dollars at it because it's
Absolutely.
still worthy to get it done.
Now we talked about this just a minute for just a minute, but I'll bring this attention to us again about engaging everyone. Retirees, you've mentioned the younger generations. We've done several mentions along the way of how to involve young people, children, and young people, as well as the younger adult generations. Intergenerational activities, I'll touch on that again. And the thing though that sticks in here for me is contact every member during October. Are you serious about that?
I am dead serious about that.
Well, how does that happen?
Well, you take your church roll, your roster, everybody you think still alive, and maybe you haven't heard from everybody, but you divide that up among a responsible group. That doesn't have to be an elected group. You could start with a group like Sunday school outreach teams or Sunday school teachers and deacons and maybe even the choir. Start with people who are responsible, who will take 10 names each and say, between now and the next 2 weeks, we will call these people. Phone calls best.
Okay.
If you actually know where they are when they're not in church, in other words, you know where they shop, you know where they work, they own their own business or whatever. But the more personal face to face you can make that contact, the better. And the purpose of the contact is to say, hey, you're important to us. We're glad you're with us at XYZ Baptist Church. And the phrase with us is a very powerful phrase. It's
Yes.
not that you're there, I'm there, we're there together.
Yep.
And that to make that contact, that gives them a chance to say, are they really with you or not? But we don't overlook the fact that there are people who even show up every day, every Sunday, may not feel noticed, if you will.
Yep.
So this is overboard, but it's helpful because
Well,
at the end of the day, you'll find out there are people who've moved on, and you'll find out that there were some people who were beginning to attend, and now they feel even more like this may be the church for them.
yeah.
So it's not just members, it's people who are participating in the life of the church. And that way you can start to have a more realistic perspective of how big our church really is
Yep.
and what we can do.
All right. Let's move to November. Uh, we are in the middle of November and we're looking at budgets and we're looking at gifts. So the first part of this is physical expectations. Uh, the church needs to know what the church budget is and what the plan is. So, speak to us a little about this.
I really don't like the word budget. You've heard me say that before,
Right?
but we're not going to kill that word. It's so much a part of church life, especially traditional mainline churches. Uh, but let's call it a ministry budget.
Okay.
Let's at least attach the reality to that word because what the budget is essentially, it's the financial expression of your plan for ministry. And what we really need to be talking about more than anything is what's our ministry plan? I've had clients in the past that shifted language to our ministry plan for next year, our ministry plan budget. Now, budget internally, I like it because finance folks understand that, but externally to the pew, let's do a lot of ministry language because that's what the budget is making possible.
As we unpack that, we are sharing the practical need for ministries, not just the overall ministry, but the individual ministries. Uh, what are we allocating within our budget plan, ministry plan for supporting the music ministry of our church, supporting the age group ministries of our church, supporting the personnel needs of our church. There are lots of practical needs for ministry within that overall ministry plan. And
Right.
folks need to hear the story of some of that, and they also need to celebrate some of the milestones. Last year, uh, we received more than we thought we were going to receive. You exceed
Yes.
our our goals. Every time we turned around, we had exceeded another goal. We need to celebrate those things and make them a part of worship, of an expression of worship. Thanks, thanks be to God, and what better time than November, Thanksgiving month, to begin to make those praises uh, tangible, if you will, and tangible expressions of celebration. So we're talking about physical expectations, but we're also talking about financial responsibilities. What does that look like?
Well, that phrase, financial responsibility, that gets to the heart of the word stewardship.
Yep.
Stewardship means that I am managing something I do not own on behalf of somebody else.
Yes.
I'm an income manager, I'm an asset manager, I'm a spiritual gift manager, I'm a time manager, I'm an influence manager. I'm doing all of these management tasks with everything available to me to enable the church to carry out its God-given mission and for me to fulfill my own purpose as a Christian. And so that's where we start in October, November, stewardship. Uh, the simplest way to do that, in my opinion, because it's worked for me, and there may be some things, Bo, you would add, is have a plan. You got a plan? Now, for my folks, the plan was tithe. Didn't have to think real hard to decide, well, we're going to give a 10% or we're not. But they had a unique economic environment that they were in
Hmm.
because one person could have a full-time job, buy a house, provide one car, send their children at least to a neighborhood college, and the other person could stay at home and maintain the household.
Mm.
We have long said goodbye to that economic condition.
Yes, we have.
So, in order to reproduce the upbringing they had, boomers like me and younger now have two income households and struggle to get the cars and the household and whatever. It's not as easy as it was. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was a piece of cake. There were things my family never did because of their decision to tithe. They never bought a new car. Never. Always used cars, and some more used than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm an only child, so, one child household, two-bedroom house, one bath.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my mother lived her life in that house for 60 years, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Now, that's not because she couldn't afford a bigger house, but she had other commitments she had already made up her mind to.
And
So
she was.
nowadays, what's the path?
Yeah.
What's the approach? Is it tithe or not? Well, some people want to. They can't get there. So
Right.
I say, just get on the path. Just start walking a giving path at
Yeah.
some level.
And
Make it a definite decision. In other words, write out my personal giving plan
yeah,
because that gives it some strength and some reality. Uh, and then every year, when you have opportunity, review your giving plan. And if you can increase, do.
absolutely. A
And I
one
will tell
percent
you,
1% increase means we have to stop going to Starbucks maybe once a week.
that's right.
That's not a hard sacrifice. But
No,
but basically we're trying to help people move to prayerful generosity and
yes,
living out of abundance. Too many of us are still living in fear and scarcity, which means we're not going to be generous. But I shared with a group of folks the other day, there has never been a moment in my lifetime that I can remember that I didn't have enough to do what I needed to do. I sent my kids to college, no student loans. Came out of that without debt. I've bought cars through the years. We buy used cars at my house too. We've been on vacation for the last however many years as a family. And as our family has expanded, we still go on vacation. We've always had enough to do what we needed to do. And recognizing God's abundance and then being as generous as God can't outgive God,
No.
but we certainly can get on the giving path, as we have talked about in several of our videos. And this is not the only stewardship video. If you know what we're doing and are aware of the work of the center, you can go to our YouTube channel and see tons of the generosity guy giving you ideas. I want to revisit one other idea that we talked about in the last video, but we didn't really dwell on it. And that is, a generous church gets noticed and rewarded. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, generosity is such a rare thing in society. It's more like we celebrate the go-getter, but rarely do we celebrate the go-giver.
Oh, great line.
So, what we're trying to do is raise up go-givers who will go and make a difference in the world. And that's exactly what happens. You make a difference, your church gets noticed, and the reward is that more people start to think, does this go-getting lifestyle really serve me? Does it really fulfill me? Am I really satisfied with an abundance of things? Or should I be like that group over there? They seem to be real happy giving stuff away. Their time, their money, resources for school packs, clothing, food, counsel. Is
Yeah.
there another way? Is there a better way of living that really is truly life?
Yes.
And so I think that's what we're talking about in getting noticed. Number one, people recognize the difference, and number two, they start to want some of that.
Yes. Look around your community, see where God is at work and doing big things, and go be a part of that. Your church does not have to do every program. There are some really good community resources who are doing good things. Go be involved with them. Be generous with them. Look around your state and see who are doing good things, where God is active. Go be a part of that. Look around our nation and our world. Of course, just a mention of the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship and our global missions effort and our ministries effort, all of those efforts doing good work around the nation and around the world, and certainly a good place for us to involve as well. So, lots of opportunities for us to involve ourselves and be generous without our church having to be the center of the universe for every program.
Bo, can I paraphrase a little scripture?
Absolutely. We need all the scripture we can get.
Uh, May you be content with enough and therefore have always enough for every good work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
May,
Uh,
may you be content with enough
may you be content with enough.
and therefore have more than enough for every good work.
Oh, that's a great word. Where does that come from? What are you paraphrasing?
I don't know. All I can remember is the core narrative there.
All right. All right. Good job. That's a great blessing. We're going to use that again in the end. So hang on to that. That
Okay.
takes us to December. Asking and receiving during December, most churches will get 40 to 60% of their budget needs during the month of December. So to be aware that this is the asking season. From Halloween to New Year's Eve, we are in asking mode, and there are lots of opportunities for that to happen. Unpack this for a minute for us.
Well, we talked earlier about one of the competitions or competitors, excuse me, for the offering plate dollar being the consumer lifestyle in our country. In
Yes.
fact, I think about 70% of our gross domestic product is based on people buying stuff. So that's how serious it is. And, you know, you're in competition as a church with the consumer culture to buy
Absolutely.
more, get more.
Yep.
But the other competitor, and I think of it as a friendly competitor, in fact, the church has sponsored through the decades and even centuries many of these competitors, and that's the nonprofits.
Yes.
And their culture is that this year, this is the time of year that we need to be asking. And they do start right after Halloween, and they do go heavy during December. And if you will notice, two things increase right after Thanksgiving. One is the number of catalogs you get from the online retailers. And the second thing is the number of opportunities you give from the nonprofit community. Maybe many of them you've been involved in already. So you also need to have that strong narrative ready to go, ready to say to your people, when you give to us, this is what we do. And we as a church don't necessarily have any needs that compete, but what we do have are solutions that can help and, and save people. We have solutions to many of the human conditions that people are enduring nowadays. And these all come through our faith in Christ. So help us deliver more solutions to more people so they can be healthier in mind and body and spirit. They can have hope for their lives, and we can make a real difference in the world.
Absolutely. And then the year end giving appeal. We have done a series of videos on year end giving. It's called The End is Near. You can see those on our YouTube channel, Center for Christian Education on YouTube. But just briefly, Ruben, unpack year end giving for us.
Well, it's just to be aware that you have got a greater goal than meeting the budget. Meeting the budget, it may not be a false god, but it is a diversionary goal. It gets you off of your main purpose, which is to number one, grow disciples. So I think one of the things we're hoping people do in their year in giving is look at it as an opportunity to make a spiritual leap in their lives, to increase their own contentment with having enough, and thereby increasing what they can share with others through their church, through good qualified nonprofits, and look at this as an opportunity to magnify their influence in the world at any level, at every level. Uh, the retailers are going to be pushing that you buy more. The nonprofits are going to be asking that you give more. So think creatively and also sincerely
Yep.
about what is our response during this year-end season of push and pull. You know, we got kids, we got grandkids, we got to buy presents for them. Well,
Yep.
what do you buy them that's not laying in the corner 2 weeks after Christmas, unused?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I would say think creatively about shared experiences that you could help provide, and think creatively about time you can spend together.
Yeah.
Uh, these are valuable,
Yeah.
and they do more for your well-being and long life than anything you could buy someone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's also think about beginning the new year emphasis, or we're beginning to look at next year. The stewardship committee may have rotated. You may have some new members. You may have some experienced members. but you're starting the process all over again, or at least getting ready to start the process all over again. And as you wind down the new year, the old year, you start up the new year, and we need to get ready for that. There's also then some things that we do all year long. And we have talked about these in every video, but I want to remind you of those things for just a moment. The first of those, reporting ministry outcomes. How do we do that?
Well, we have an opportunity in every worship service right before we receive an offering to say, last month, tithes and offerings given helped us do this. And that produced this result. Even better than making a report is having persons who are representative of the beneficiaries of that ministry sharing their own personal stories. This is what your church did through your tithes and offerings that made a difference in our life, either as teenagers in the church or as people living at the homeless shelter. You know, sharing personal stories, first person stories are even more powerful.
Yes.
I think a variety of giving opportunities. Not everybody gives the same way. That's one of the real shortfalls of a programmed or canned approach to stewardship and giving, is assuming everybody's going to do it the same way.
Yeah.
They have different methods of giving. They have different speeds at which they give. Some of your folk will only give in this last quarter during the end of the year. In fact, I was a church administrator. It wasn't uncommon to get a phone call mid to late December. Let me know how we're getting close on budget, because that was their big thing.
Yeah.
And if you need a little more, let me know.
Yeah.
And the idea was, we'll help you, but we don't want to help you too much.
Exactly.
We don't
Exactly.
want to over help you.
Yeah. There's also the opportunity of our worship bulletins and our weekly newsletters to let people know how we're doing, not towards the budget, but towards the giving plan that we've set up, the ministry plan that we've set up as a church. We have lots of opportunities to send out how we're doing and let people know that. Also, with intentional prayer experiences, uh, giving people opportunities to pray with thanksgiving around the abundance we already have and the good things that God is going to do for us, and that we speak about generosity and abundance. The last thing, Ruben, continuously say thank you. How do we do that appropriately?
That's a great question. I think this is one of the unappreciated strategies for growing giving in your church, is to let people know they're appreciated, they're making a difference. You cannot say thank you too much, too often, not one bit. I'm concerned that a lot of times when church committees and even clergy get a little frantic about the giving levels, that they're overlooking the fact that they didn't get nothing, you know, they
Yeah,
got something.
they got something. Right.
So my point of beginning to work with the church is, let's celebrate what you do have rather
Exactly.
than start off bemoaning what you don't have.
Yes.
Let's
I
celebrate
Go ahead.
what's there.
Yep. Yep. I work with a client um, for a national group, and he paid me for some work that I was not able to do. And so I wanted to send the money back to him. And he said, "No, if you do that, you'll mess up my accounting." I said, "Okay, then I'm going to make a donation back to your local group." And he said, "If you want to do that, that's fine, but don't send me the check back." So I cashed the check. I sent him part of that money back as a donation. We had agreed upon what my fee was going to be. And so I sent him part of that money back because I wasn't able to do the work. It was a piddling amount of money to the national group. To the local group, it was a significant gift.
Yeah.
I have gotten 5 thank yous from different people within the group, within the larger group, and within the local group for a piddling gift. And I that got me thinking in my own mind, we never say thank you to our givers in church. We rarely say thank you in a church. And here's this small insignificant gift that I gave, and I've gotten 5 thank you notes from people within that organization. We are indeed missing an opportunity of influence by not saying thank you.
Absolutely. One of the best pastor friends of mine in terms of how to say thank you, he regularly from the pulpit and in his newsletter column would say, "You don't know what a delight it is for me to tell my pastor friends that I'm pastoring one of the most generous churches in the nation."
Oh
He
wow.
says, "You people blow me away with your generosity, and
Oh,
you
that's
blow my
amazing.
friends away.
Yeah.
They can't
Yeah.
believe what we're able to accomplish because you're choosing to be generous followers of Christ." And I just
Absolutely.
want to thank you for that. And over and over and over again. Now, what he was doing, in addition to saying thank you, he was creating an expectation.
Yep. Yep.
And they were more than willing to rise to that expectation.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ruben, it is always a pleasure to sing and dance with you, my friend. Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Not only are you a generous person with your resources, but your time and your wisdom. I always learn when I sit with you, and I'm just so grateful that you continue to want to sing and dance with us. Lots of opportunities. If you want a copy of the slides, email me. I'll send those to you. This video will be up on Facebook and on YouTube and on our website, c4ce.org, in the next few weeks. And as always, you can contact me and especially contact Ruben at his Gmail account for continued conversations and follow up. Ruben, just thank you. You are the generosity guy, and you represent that and live that out in so many ways. And I'm just so blessed to partner with you. Thank you for being just a fabulous, fabulous
That's
resource.
enough. My head is going to explode off the
No, no, I can't
screen.
say thank you. I can't say thank you enough since we were talking about it.
So,
Can't say thank you enough. As we go out today, how about giving us that blessing of Scripture one more time? This will be our prayer for all of you. Bo Prosser, Bo in the Beard, c4ce.org, bo.prosser at gmail.com. Thanks so much for joining us. Ruben, bless us as we head out.
well, may we all be content with enough, that having enough, we will have more than enough for every good work God calls us to do.
Amen, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll see you down the road.
Later.